Welcome back. My name is Krysta French, and today I'll be your yoga teacher. Today's practice is focused on targeting tight leg muscles, and this is a really great yoga class for runners and athletes, or if you're simply looking to release the hamstrings and the hips and strengthen the core and the quads a little bit. So we'll go ahead and get started lying down on our backs. You won't need any props for this practice. So you can just begin to reach your legs out nice and long. Allow your hands to flip up, having a nice subtle tuck of the shoulder blades under the body. Allow your eyes to close. Just get heavy for a moment. So notice the weight of the body and start to notice your breath here. So as you inhale, the belly can fill, the ribs expand, the chest and the collarbones begin to lift. And then as you exhale, the collarbones fall. The ribs pull back, the belly falls, exhaling completely. So take a few big cleansing breaths on your own. You might even sigh it out as you exhale. See if you can release across the facial features and the jaw, noticing where you're holding onto tension and how you can let go. Take one more deep breath, and then start to move your hands and your feet, eventually reaching up, taking a nice big stretch overhead, and then eventually pulling the knees into the chest. Give them a really good squeeze. Rock side to side. So massaging across the low back and across the sacrum. Just pulling those knees in nice and tight. And then eventually allow your knees to drop over to the right side. Your gaze can fall off to the left, and you might even take the right hand pressing them on top of the knee, or just allow your hand to fall open. So either way, allow the left shoulder to get heavier, and just letting the spine find some kind of release here. Knees can come back through center, and then let them drop off to the left side. Your gaze can fall to the right. Let your right shoulder blade get heavier this time. Just noticing the spine, noticing any places that feel particularly tight. And eventually pull the knees back into center, give them a nice hug. Take a happy baby here. So hands come around your feet. The knees can press down and around the hips, opening the hips nice and wide, rocking side to side. And then take the hands underneath the knees. Begin to rock yourself forward and back. So forward and back. We'll take one more rock here, nice and big. Gain some momentum. We're going to rock up, finding boat pose, Navasana. So we're balancing on the sits bones. The chest is lifted. The legs might be parallel with the ground. They might reach higher. Either way, stay steady with the breath. Keep reaching your hands forward, activating the core, just waking it up a little bit. Nice full breaths. And then take the hands behind the knees. 3 more rocks, all the way from tailbone up to the shoulder blades. Number 2, we have 1 more rock. And then on our last one, we're coming up again, right into boat pose. So in your boat pose, again, this is your practice. So any variation, if you want to go deeper, the legs are going to extend all the way. So legs are long. For a little bit less depth, so less challenge, the feet are going to come down to the ground. So maybe the toes touch the ground. Either way, the chest is lifted, the core is turned on. And then hands behind the knees, we're rocking back again. 1 rock, 2 rocks, 1 more rock to complete it. And on our last one, we're going to cross the shins and then walk the hands forward. Let the knees come back. So finding our way into our tabletop. So shoulders over wrists, the knees under the hips. Start to move through your cat and cow poses. So as you inhale here, the belly drops down, the heart opens up, the tailbone presses back. As you exhale, round the spine, push the ground away. So just move at your own pace. Try to link together breath with movement. So warming up the spine, And then toes tuck under, lift the knees, press the hips back, find your first downward facing dog. So things might be a little tight here. You haven't done a down dog in a while, or maybe this is just the first one of your day. So pedaling the heels, bicycling the knees, shifting the weight back and forth, allowing the chest to continue to push back toward the thighs. And then find some stillness eventually. The heels drop deeper, palms really ground into the mat. See if you can find some lightness in the wrist by putting more pressure through the entire hand. Shoulders away from the ears. Gaze comes forward. Take a walk up to the front. Find your first flat back. Maybe the hands touch at the shins. And then exhale, soften the knees, fold over. Take the hands over the low back, interlace your fingers, and then move the hands away from the body. So getting a stretch in the shoulders, you can sway here side to side. Maybe work on straightening the legs if it feels good. Release your hands, find a flat back as you inhale. Exhale to fold. Inhale, arms reach all the way up and around, palms press up overhead. Hands come down through the heart and down to the sides. So inhale, reach up, lengthen. Exhale, we're folding from the hips. Inhale to a flat back and lower the hands, step back for your plank pose. First time, lower the knees, and then you can lower halfway or all the way to the belly. Inhale, find a little back bend, and exhale, downward facing dog. So as we move back into our down dog, think of this as a resetting pose. So reset your breath. See if you can do all those little checkpoints. So shoulders away from the ears, the head is nice and heavy, lengthen through the sides of the neck, the sides of the waist. The hips are nice and high so we can drop the heels down, stretching through the calves and the hamstrings. And then gaze comes forward, stepping up to the front, find that flat back. Exhale to fold. Inhale, arms reach up, palms press. And hands come down through the heart and down to the sides. So inhale, reach up again. Exhale to fold over. Inhale, lengthen to your flat back. And hands down, step back to find your plank. Lower to chaturanga, halfway or all the way to the belly. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. So just taking a few sun salutations to warm the body up. And again, this is your practice, so if you ever need a break, if you ever need to pause this video and take a child's pose, you are always welcome to do that. Please do not wait for me to offer down dog, child's pose. So from here, gaze comes forward, step or float up to the front, lengthen the spine. Exhale to fold. Inhale, arms reach high, palms press up overhead, and hands lower through the heart and down to the sides. One more time. Inhale, reach up and lengthen. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale to your flat back, Ardha Uttanasana, and hands down, step or float back, lowering to Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. So steady the breath. Notice where your thoughts are. Bring them back to the present moment. So just working on being here, feeling your body, feeling the breath. No judgment, just observing. Then gaze comes forward, step or float up to the front, lengthen. Exhale, begin to fold. Inhale, arms reach up nice and high, palms press. Hands lower through the heart and down to the sides. So sun salutation B, inhale, sit back, find a chair pose. So get heavy in your hips, weights back in the heels. The knees are bent, shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Take a big breath here, sink a little bit deeper. And then exhale as we fold forward. Inhale, lengthen the spine, find a flat back, and hands down. Step or float back to Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. From here, reach your right leg high behind you. Step it up by the right hand. Back heel spins down for warrior one. So we're pressing equally into the feet, bending into that front knee. Arms reach high. Soften across the shoulders. Lower bellies pulling up and in. And then lower the hands down. Step back into plank, lower chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale to downward facing dog. This time, left leg lifts up. Step it forward, warrior one. So reaching your arms nice and high. Maybe those palms are pressing. Maybe they stay open. Nice long spine here. And then hands plant down, step back, lower chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. How's the breath? See if you can even it out, slow it down a little bit. Notice the pace of the breath, the weight and the quality. And then gazing forward, step or float up and lengthen, flat back. Exhale, fold over. Inhale, sit back for chair. Get nice and heavy in your hips. Weights back in the heels. Maybe those palms press, and then stand all the way up. Hands come down through the heart and down to the sides. So standing nice and tall in Tadasana. Inhale, reach up. Take a little baby back bend, and then exhale to fold in half. Inhale, flat back. Hands down, step or float back to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, the right leg lifts, and then step it up for a high lunge. So the back heel lifts high. Reach your arms straight up toward the sky. So soften the shoulders. Again, check out the low back. Bend your back knee. Press your left hip forward and then straighten the leg again. So you should feel a little stretch through the hip flexor on the left side. From here, the hands come to the heart. Steady the gaze as you shift into that right leg for warrior three. So we're trying to aim for a straight line from the crown of the head through the back of the heel. So see if you can aim on pointing the left toes down to the ground. So dropping the left hip just slightly. Step back with control for your high lunge, and then lower the hands down. Drop the back knee, untuck the back toes. Hips are going to press forward. The hands can come at your front thigh, or you can reach them all the way up and back, maybe even interlacing the fingers, wiggling the upper arm bones behind the ears, taking the gaze up. Eventually the hands lower down. Slide your hips back. So we're keeping the back or the hips lifted away from the heel. We're just straightening the right leg, reaching the chin down over toward the shin. So half splits here. If you're flexing your foot, you're going to feel this more in the hamstrings, right? And if you're pointing your toes down, you're going to feel this more in the front part of your shin. If you have a full splits practice that you want to work into, you're more than welcome to work into it. If that's not in your practice today, just stay in your half splits. So either way, feeling that stretch. Nice, full, steady breaths. And if you're in that full splits, coming back into your half, take a nice big inhale and then exhale, fold over one more time. Hands come to the inside of the foot. We're going to shift the hips forward, so we're bending that front knee, finding our way into lizard pose. So it doesn't have to be a super active lizard. You can just work on getting into those hips. For something different, you might turn the big toe side of that right foot open, press the thigh away, or even bend the left knee and catch the foot behind you. So getting into that left quad, rotating the ribs open toward the right side. So nice big stretch in the hips and the quad and the hip flexor. Eventually release what you have. Take the hands on the inside of the foot. So full lizard pose, the back toes tuck under, activating everything in the body. So it's like you're finding a plank. And then we're going to step that right foot back for side plank. So stacking the feet, weight comes onto that left hand as we lift the right arm high. Steady breath, lower the right hand, and take your vinyasa. Remember, you can always skip your vinyasas and just meet in child's pose. So steady breath, we're coming back into our downward facing dog. And then gaze comes forward. We're going to step or float the feet on the outside of the hands, finding a yogi squat, malasana. So feet are wide, knees are bent, hips are really low here. The hands come to the heart, elbows plug into the inner thighs to lift the chest. Nice long spine. And then lower the hands down, walk your feet back together, fold over the legs. You can take ragdoll here by taking opposite elbows, letting your body sway side to side. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, fold, and then inhale, arms reach up. Hands come down through the heart and down to the sides. Inhale, reach up, take that back bend again, and exhale, we're folding. Inhale, flat back. Hands down, step or float back. Vinyasa is yours. So take it or leave it. Meet back and down dog. When you arrive there, connect with the breath. Inhale the left leg high. Step it up. Find your high lunge. So the hips are working toward the front, bending into that front knee. And then take a nice big bend in that right knee. Start to press the hip forward, then straighten the leg. So you should feel that stretch through the hip flexor on that right side. From here, the hands come together in front of your heart. Shift into that left leg as we kick the right foot straight back. Warrior 3. So chest is working to be parallel with the ground. That right leg is nice and long. Steady breath. With control, we're stepping it back, high lunge. Lower the back knee. Take the hands down as you untuck the back toes, press the hips forward, and the hands can come at the front thigh. Or if it feels good, reach your arms nice and high, sweep them back, opening through the chest and the hips. Full steady breath. Release the hands down as you slide your hips back. So working on our half splits. And remember, we're not sitting back on that right heel. We're keeping the hips lifted. You can flex. You can point those left toes. Whatever feels best. And if you'd like to go into that full splits, you're more than welcome to. Keep in mind that you can always use props here, right? You can always take a blanket or a block under that front thigh for more support. If you're in that full splits, take another breath here. Just settling into it. And then eventually coming back into your half splits. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to fold over that front leg. And then hands come to the inside as you shift forward. So bending that left knee this time, working right into the lizard. And again, any variation of lizard, so for a different variation, can peel the big toe side of that left foot open. Press the thigh away. Maybe even bend that right knee and catch the foot behind you. So if you're doing that, remember, we're not forcing, we're not yanking anything. We're just encouraging some movement. And that movement can be very small. Notice how this side feels compared to the other side. Release your foot if you have it, and then come into an active lizard. So hands come on the inside of the foot, finding that plank pose in the body. Weight comes onto that right hand. We're stacking the left foot over the right, extending that left arm high. Vashisthasana, side plank. Lower the left hand, and then take your vinyasa. Nice full steady breath. Arriving back into our down dog, the heels can drop. And then lower the knees, sink back, find a child's pose. So forehead can come down. You might roll your forehead back and forth if that feels really good. And then take the hands under the chest, come all the way up. We're going to work on a nice strengthening quad exercise. So we're stacking hips over the knees. Try to keep your body as straight as possible. Hands come around the shoulders. So we're crossing the elbows. And then begin to lean back with a straight body. So going as far back as you can, and you'll feel this kind of quiver point when your body starts to shake. So stay there. You should really feel it in the quads, and then come back up. We're going to do that 2 more times. So take a deep breath in, fill up the body, and then as you exhale, slowly fold on back. So again, a straight line from the knees, the hips to the shoulders, everything's in line. Find that quiver point. Really work in those quads, and then slowly come on back. 1 more time. Nice deep breath in. And then as you exhale, slowly fold back. Really work in those quads. Feel that strength start to build. And then eventually we're coming back up. Uncross your arms. You can shake it out. We're going to come right into our camel pose. So this time, hands can come to the lower back. Inhale, we're beginning to lift the chest. Roll the heart open. Now just press your heart and your hips forward as you tip the gaze on back. Your hands can stay at the low back, or you might even release your hands down to your heels. Either way, lift the heart. Hips are over the knees. Eventually, slowly coming back up. Take a seat back onto your heels, lower back down. Child's pose, Balasana. Lengthening through the back side of the body, a nice counter stretch. And then slowly start to shift forward. Come onto your hands and knees. Take a few rounds of cat and cow. And just getting back into the hips, back into the shoulders. Mobilizing everything here. Toes tuck under. Lift the hips, downward facing dog. Inhale, the right leg lifts, and then exhale, we're shifting it through, landing in our half pigeon pose. So that back leg is long, and we're working the right foot toward the left side of the mat. Inhale, lift your chest, open the heart, and then slowly, mindfully, we're lowering down. So this is a pretty deep stretch on the hips and the IT band. So if it's too deep, you can always come back out of it. And if you need some support under that right hip, feel free to grab a block or a blanket. We're working towards that shin being parallel with the front edge of the mat. If it never happens, that's totally fine. I'm just doing what you can today. Noticing the sensations as they come up without labeling them as good or bad. Just take them in as information from the body. We're going to slowly lift back up, open the chest, come onto the fingertips, and then hands plant down, so palms are nice and wide, back toes tuck under, sweep the right leg high again, and then just start to roll around the knee, the hip, and the ankle. Lower the foot, come back into down dog, switching legs. Inhale, the left leg lifts, exhale, shift it through, land in half pigeon. And in that half pigeon pose, again, we're trying to even the hips out, broadening through the collarbones as you lift, and then as you exhale, softening and folding over. Noticing how this side might be very different from the other side. And just staying a little bit longer, noticing sensations as they arise. And then eventually coming back up onto the fingers, broadening the collarbones. And then lowering the hands down, spreading the palms out nice and wide. The right toes tuck under this time. The left leg sweeps high behind you. Roll around knee, hip, and ankle. Come back down into downward facing dog. From here, gaze comes forward. You can step or just float the feet through, right? Coming down onto our sits bones and lengthening the legs out. From here, the right leg extends, left foot comes into the inner thigh. Hip bones are squared, and then inhale, the arms lift. Exhale, fold over that leg. So getting into the hamstrings, reaching the heart forward. Make sure that if you need a bend in that knee, take it. And you can always set a blanket under that knee if that feels better. We want to make sure that we're not hyperextending. So keeping a very itty bitty micro bend. So come back up onto the fingers. This time the left hand's going to cross to the outer edge of the right foot, and then take a very gentle twist towards the right side as you pull your chest forward. And then come back to center. Inhale, the arms lift. Exhale, lower them down. This time we're going to get even deeper in the hamstrings. So take that left foot across the right thigh, and we're trying to stack the knees. So it's going to look different for everybody. If you're not sure what's happening, you can take a peek. So coming onto the fingertips, reach your heart forward, and then slowly walk yourself down. So this is a much deeper stretch in the hamstrings, so take your time, right? You're probably not going to go as deep as you did in the pose before, and that's totally fine. Nice, full, steady breath. Eventually we're coming back up, and then just set the sole of the left foot down on the outside of the right thigh. Bend that right knee for a full twist. Left hand's coming behind you for support. And then twist toward the left side. Right elbow is coming around, hooking the outside of the thigh. If that's too intense, hug the knee. And then lengthen as you inhale. Exhale, deepen the pose by twisting, looking over the left shoulder. Full, steady breath. Come back, uncross, take a little counter stretch. So bow over toward the right side. Nice little release there. And then come back up, straightening that right leg, bringing the left foot in again. This time the right leg is going to angle out toward the right side. Close up the gap in between the foot and the inner thigh. Right hand flips open on the inside of the leg. Left hand comes around the back of the head. Reach your elbow down toward the foot, and if you want to go deeper, reach the fingers toward the foot. So we're working towards rotating the ribs open, so trying to avoid collapsing the chest down. From here, left hand comes down behind the left hip. Lift the hips, stretch that right arm back, so a little stargazer pose, and then lower the hips down. Extend the legs, give them a nice shake. So switching sides, left leg extends, right foot comes into the inner thigh. Lift your arms as you inhale, and exhale, we're folding. So Janu Sirsasana, reaching forward, trying to work on placing the belly down on top of the thighs. And then come back up just slightly. Take the right hand toward the outer edge of that left foot. Take a little twist to the left and then reach over. So you should feel this stretch somewhere in the lower back on the right side. And it's just a different kind of stretch, so take your time with it. You don't have to do it. Come back up, inhale, the arms lift, and then exhale, let them lower. This time the right knee comes to stack on top of the left knee. Right, so working on stacking the knees, come onto the fingertips, lift the heart, slowly, mindfully, walk yourself forward. Take another breath here. And then slowly come back up. We're going to uncross, we're not going to uncross. Just take the sole of that right foot down, hook the left foot around, find your twist here. So twisting toward the right side. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale, go a little bit deeper, looking back over the right shoulder this time. And notice the breath. If you're feeling like the breath is really constricted in this twist, you might be a little bit too deep in the twist. So often the breath is a really good indicator of how deep we should be going in our poses. So untwist, walk yourself over to the left side, take a little counter stretch. Slowly come back up. As you extend that left leg, bring the right foot into the inner thigh. Then take that left leg out on an angle slightly, close up the gap in between the foot and the thigh. Flip the left palm open, drop it in front, roll the right shoulder back. Right hand comes at the back of your head, and then you can reach your arm all the way over toward the foot if that feels good. If not, just keep the elbow bent. Find that rotation. And then slowly come back up, right hand plants, lift the hips, extend that left arm, little stargazer, lower the hips, and then reach your legs long. Give them a nice big shake. Hands come behind you, palms are flat, fingers point towards you, feet hips width apart. Lift your hips, tip the gaze back. So reverse table. You should feel a nice opening in the chest and in the shoulders. Steady breath, keep lifting. And then slowly the hips come back down. We're finding bound angle pose. So Baddha Konasana, feet come together. Scoot the feet in nice and close. Reach your heart forward and fold over the legs. So if you'd like, your elbows can even press in against the inner thighs here, right, to provide a little bit more resistance, opening your chest, opening through the groin. And then slowly come back up, close the knees, windshield wiper the knees left and right, releasing any kind of tension. And then eventually we're going to lower all the way down onto the mat. From here, the right ankle hooks across the left knee. So finding a pigeon pose on our back. So one more IT band stretch. The hands come underneath that left thigh. Pull it in towards you. So nice little stretch here. We're going to transition into a twist. So keep your legs as they are. Just take that right hand and push your legs off to the left side. Your gaze and your arm can fall to the right. So those legs are still kind of twisted. Just a little bit different than the spinal twist we took at the beginning. Come back to center. So we're back into that pigeon pose on our backs, that figure 4 pose. And then switch legs. So feet come down, left foot hooks over the right thigh. Hands come underneath the right thigh as you pull it in towards you. So this can be as deep as you want it to be. You can even press that left thigh away from you. You want to go slightly deeper. And then to come into that twist, just allow your knees to come over toward the right side. Gaze is going to fall off to the left. Let your left shoulder get heavier. Come back to center. Hands come under the thigh. Pull it in nice and close. And then releasing the feet down. Start to windshield wiper the knees, left, then right. And give them a nice big hug. And then find a happy baby. So hands come around your feet. Rock a little bit left and right. Massage the low back. And then if there are any final movements that you'd like to do, feel free to do them now. And we're going to lower down into Shavasana. So letting the legs extend, letting the arms extend. The chest is open. Focus the attention on the breath. And our quote today comes from Mary Oliver. It's called Peonies. This is one of my favorite poems. This morning, the green fists of the peonies are getting ready to break my heart as the sun rises. as the sun strokes them with his old buttery fingers, and they open pools of lace, white and pink, and all day the black ants climb over them, boring their deep and mysterious holes into the curls, craving the sweet sap, taking it away to their dark, underground cities. And all day, under the shifty wind, as in a dance to the great wedding, the flowers bend their bright bodies and tip their fragrance to the air and rise, their red stems holding all that dampness and recklessness, gladly and lightly. And there it is again, beauty, the brave, the exemplary, blazing open. Do you love this world? Do you cherish your humble and silky life? Do you adore the green grass with its terror beneath? Do you also hurry, half-dressed and barefoot, into the garden, and softly, and exclaiming of their dearness, fill your arms with the white and pink flowers, with their honeyed heaviness, their lush trembling, their eagerness to be wild and perfect for a moment, before they are nothing forever? Allow your breath to get bigger and start to send a little bit of life and movement, some sensation back into the body. You can start to roll off to the side, cradling the knees into your chest, resting for a moment, and eventually pressing yourself all the way up, finding a comfortable and easy seat, letting the hands press together in front of the heart, and just taking a moment to thank yourself for choosing to practice. Begin to notice any shifts or changes in your body, maybe in your mind, from when you first walked onto your mat. And thank you all so much for sharing your own practice with me today. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste. If you enjoyed this yoga class, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you'll never miss a free yoga class. For more resources, you can check out KrystaFrench.com. Have a wonderful day. I will see you on the mat soon.